Hello, Star Lovelies. It's a great time to be a soul. Today we're talking about
So, what if AI could be your best team member, your secret weapon, your mirror, your muse, without ever replacing you? So, I want to talk about how to use ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever AI tool you're using in a way that aligns. And we're going to go right into the intuitive success signatures. So, if you haven't taken that 12-question quiz at yourstarmaptosuccess.com, go ahead and do it. The link is in the show notes as well, and get your signature, because your energy is starting to matter more and more and more. So you're going to start hearing people say embodiment more and alignment more and intuition and soul and instinct and, not just mindset, but power. I'm just trying to think of all these different phrases that you're going to start hearing, because it is imperative that with as fast as things are moving, as uncharted as this territory is, that you are standing in your fullness and your wholeness and in your meaningness. Because if you are out of alignment, or you are, like a talking head, think of that. You're just going to float away and you're going to just be part of the noise. You're not going to actually be able to be seen, heard, and known in the way that you want to. So ChatGPT or AI or whatever model you're using, it can help you with your business goals. It can help you with saving you time and saving you money. I mean, it can be really, really good and beneficial for you. Or it could lead you down a path that isn't in alignment. It can be good and bad and ugly. And so we're going to talk about all of that, because I'm going to keep saying this. The pace of movement starting on the back half of this year is going to be mind spinning. It's going to feel like we're riding on a luge and we don't even have any sort of, luge equipment with us, right? We're just floating off in space. You don't want to be swept up with that. You want to be here, and but you want to be able to use the tools that make sense so that you're not left behind, right? So I'm going to go into like using, and I'm just going to say ChatGPT just because I use it, right? So it's a mirror. It's not a master. And so I want to go in and talk about how I've seen people using AI, and it becomes the genius, the voice, the guidance, the coach, the mentor. That's not appropriate. I didn't know I was going to talk about this, but apparently I am. So it's just like having a puppy or a dog at home. There's an alpha in the room and you're it. And if you don't, even with kids, right? Like if you have toddlers and they're running amok, you want to remember you're the parent in the room. You're the leader. So we're not abdicating our responsibility. We're not abdicating our position, our voice, our authority. We're asking for help. We're asking for support. Just like if you had a team member that was doing your social media or was doing your system design or was doing your rebranding, you would guide them. You would do a big, huge download of whatever it is that you wanted. And they would be, hopefully, if they were an expert, they would be asking you really good questions. And then you'd be answering those questions to the best of your ability. And so that's the discovery phase, right? Whenever you're working with somebody. And then based on what they discover about you, they use their expertise to help you. And then when you get it back, you question it, you test it. You're like, yeah, I like this, but I don't really like that. Can we take this piece? Can we not take that piece? You don't just say like, oh my goodness, this is the most amazing thing on the world, and we're just going to go do this, right? Like, think about that. You don't want to do that with chat. You don't want to do that with chat. You want to be like, look, I am in the driver's seat. This is what I'm looking for. So in your expertise in this marketing area, or as a brander, or as a, systems implementer for my ideal client for the brander, for my ideal client for the, marketing, for me in the systems implementation, you're going to give it parameters. Nothing changes, because AI is not the CEO of your business. It's not your strategist, and it's definitely not your soul. It's a tool. And like any powerful tool, it can be a gift or a trap. So I've seen it all. I've given this time. I've been using it for 2 years. I was one of the first people that talked about, make sure that you protect your IP, make sure you protect your trade secrets. Oh my goodness, you can just go in. There was only the free version, and there was no conversation that it was having with you saying, oh, make sure you don't put this in and make sure you don't put that in. And I saw people put tons of things in. I'm like, oh my God, like you've just given public domain, like all this access to your things that I don't think you wanted to have access to. So that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it, what I've seen too much, and I'm going to say it, I'm just going to throw down here, especially women, we tend to follow who we think of as an expert. And so I don't know if it's because it's like this computer and things get printed out, but I'm watching people take things as gospel. And I'm like, no, especially when did you use the right prompt? I have another episode that I go all in about the questions that you ask and the prompts that you give, because that's what matters. So that's still true. And so I've seen the glowing reviews, but I've seen disastrous implementations. I've also seen the glazing over, quote unquote, of somebody's eyes as they get massive amount of information just spinning out in front of them. And so if you use it for hours and hours and you just get all this information, two things will happen. One is you're going to have information overload, hands down. The second thing is AI is going to be feeding itself and it's going to be recalibrating itself based on what you're inputting after it. So if you're not course correcting or you're not, being in that driver's seat, it's just going to take you on a road that it wants to take you, that thinks that is going to be good for you. That is not awesome. ChatGPT amplifies. And so it reflects you and your level of trust and your level of clarity and level of alignment. If you don't know who you are or how you want to lead, it's going to churn out somebody else's version of success. So it's just like you going on social media and seeing somebody else's model and you going and just think about it, you asking them, quote unquote, every single thing that you could. And the way you'd ask them social media is that, oh, I'm going to see what he or she does online. I'm going to see their website. I'm going to see their downloadables. I'm going to see their lead magnets. I'm going to see their funnels. I'm going to get into their worlds and then we just replicate everything like that. I'm sorry. That's so, last decade, you absolutely don't want to do anything like that. And it feels good, which is what is the issue here, because there's that dopamine hit of like, wow, look at all the things that I'm doing. And if you have the paid version, it's only $20 a month. If you have the free version, it's $0, right? I wouldn't recommend anybody use the free version because you don't want to give it anything because it's open source, right? So with that, as the open source part of this, I was asking AI, like, what percentage of people are implementing what is being generated? And from OpenAI, it's only 5%. So think about this, 95% of what is being generated isn't being acted on. So talk about disembodied. We don't even have to get into the alignment piece. If like you're not integrating it, then who cares if you have 16 pieces of paper that talks to you about your ideal client or talks to you about where you should set up a system or not? If you're not doing it, it doesn't even matter. So that's been an incredible waste of time. So you're not, quote unquote, saving anything. But let's get back to the good part, like, because it is really good. I am not anti-AI at all. I embrace it wholeheartedly, but I always know I am in the driver's seat. I know where I want to go with it, and I'm leading it to that. So when it's asking me, do you want to do these 3 other things? I'm like, no, don't. I don't want them. It's mildly interesting. I don't care. This is what I've asked for. You've given me the beautiful, feedback or information or help me flush out an idea. And now I'm done because I've got work to do. You're going to sit here all day. I'm not. Right? It's a big difference. Right? Okay. So what is with the good? So when you use chat with clarity, with integrity as a leader and in partnership, it's really great. And I'm going to go into your energy a little bit. I'm going to just go into your intuitive success signature. So if you are a wise strategist and you want to create a campaign, you can ask ChatGPT to brainstorm 5 really great emotionally resonant subject lines, for example, because you tend to be facts and figures and statistics. So you would want help on more that emotional realm. And you could base it on your audience profile. That's great. You can get gold and you can look at it and be like, I don't really like this one. I like this one. Maybe I'll take this and part of this. And then you can kind of put it in AMI Institute and see what it emotionally grabs from a capturing perspective. That's beautiful. If you're an intuitive visionary and you ask it to structure your next podcast, you can tell it to be like, I just want it framed out. I just want some ideas, or this is what I'm going to do. And I'd like a few examples here. Or I have research. I didn't know the 5%. I asked chat for the 5%. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was low. I just didn't know what it was. And so that's what it came back with. I was like, great. Because I'm doing a podcast, I'm doing it on the signatures, and I want to talk about chat and the good, bad, the ugly. Chat was like, okay, that's brilliant. If you are using ruling words, I adore you, like your bottom line, you're like, get to the point, you're direct. You might want some help rounding things out, fluffing things up a little bit, asking a leading question, keeping something open-ended, asking for an example of vulnerability. Not that it's your story, but just an example. Then you can reframe it as your story. That would be really good for you. But you love to batch things and you love to have like big productions. So you can say, you know what, give me the next month's worth of stuff. And that would be really good. And remember to infuse some vulnerability points and just leave it blank. And I'll put my own here. That's a great prompt for you. It's a great reminder to you. So I have clients that I'm in a meeting with them. We do all the things, magic that we do. And either before or after the session, I will use chat to just help frame out a conversation. And it's not a conversation. It's like SEO, or it's like networking groups, or it's like a system situation that somebody's having. I know all the soul stuff and all the other things, but I don't actually know some of these, industries or some of these functions that people do. And before I had chat, I would suppose, and I would say, I think it's like this. Now I can get infinitely more practical. And I just hand that to them as something, and we talk about it. And I say, this is how you can use it. And so they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like 2 or 3 pieces of paper max. I'm not giving them this big, huge Bible of something that has nothing to do with them. I'm not giving them too much information, but it's like, SEO person, you might want to look at the trends. Gee, you're making a pivot in your industry. And so this is what's really been resonating lately. Oh, and here's some wording for you. Or here's a workshop that we were talking about in more of that high level way. Oh, let's get really detailed about that. And let's look at some, dreamy titles of what that workshop could be. Beautiful. Oh my God, it's so helpful. But what about the bad? This is where it starts to unravel. So I know that there are a lot of companies out there giving you prompts. But when you are using someone else's prompt, depending on what that prompt is, and you're expecting it to align with you and your business model, it's not going to. So yeah, I'm just going to stop there. If you're using chat to write like your entire about page and you haven't given it anything or enough information about you, it's going to be doing it based on other people, and maybe they're in your industry and maybe not. Even if you use the prompt like, for my ideal client, and you've already wanted to give them the profile, then, write my about page. It can't really write your about page. That's you, right? You should be writing your about page. What you could say is provide a wireframe of a really good best practice about page for someone in X industry. Then it would give you like the placeholders of what you want to do. And you'd be like, yeah, right. I haven't really told my story here. I haven't asked a leading question here. I haven't really talked about my ideal client enough here. I don't have a CTA. Oops, I forgot client testimony. All those things can happen. It will help you frame it out, which is really good. Delegating really deep marketing tasks like core messaging to AI. That's not good either. Like, I do use AI mostly for marketing. I think most people do. I have a 45 to 57 page brand book, depending upon which one I want to put in there. One of them has an amazing avatar story and the other one doesn't. That's the only difference. And so I put that in there. I've also put personal story in there. I've also put 57 pages of articles I've written for that month. I've also put my star planner in there. It has like 150 pages of information for 1 month's worth of content. And oh, by the way, it messes up the timing of the stars. It summarizes client either testimony or story, or sometimes it comes up with examples that aren't even true. And I'm like, what the literal F? And I have to tell it which project file to go into to be able to determine what I'm looking for. And oh, by the way, I craft it so that Mondays are this, Tuesdays for Friday for that. I'm looking for one infographic, one carousel, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for things that speak to intuitive visionary versus really more like whatever. I give it so much instruction. I give it like a page of instruction. And then I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I like most of it. I don't like all of it. So then I wordsmith everything. So it's an enhancer. That's an example of good use of it versus I've seen some people just like write on my emails, write on my social posts, hand it off to their marketing team and off they go. I can't imagine that that's resonating without any human input. I could be wrong, but I just can't imagine it. And what about like maybe you create a launch sequence because it, super helpful with that, right? But what if it doesn't feel like you? What if you haven't even read it? What if you haven't looked at it and said, in my ideal client shoes, or in my, I'm going to test this, or I'm going to like just see if I would even want to go through and read it. That I don't think that that would be really good. So AI is only as powerful as the person wielding it. Without clarity, it actually creates chaos. Let's go into the ugly, right? I haven't even gotten there. So when ChatGPT becomes your strategy, your voice, and your energy field, I mean, I just can't even imagine how disassociated is that, right? So this is where thinking about going and saying, okay, I've just given 4 prompts in ChatGPT. It's great. It got me some information, but now it's asking me like, do you want me to do this, or this? So a lot of times it will say, do you want me to write the social post for this? Do you want me to write a real script for this? Do you want me to write, or do all 3? And I'm never selecting all 3, by the way, because I don't want all 3. I'm usually no, by the way, but sometimes I'll say, yeah, just to give it to me. And I'll just kind of look at it and be like, yeah. And I can see where it's getting off track because it's leading itself in a direction that has nothing to do with you when you let it lead. And that's what it's doing when it's asking you for those prompts at the end. Like, and I'm like, no, I don't even want that. I'm like, thank you. And off I go. Right. Or sometimes I say like, what is happening right now? Because this is terrible. So you're not helpful at all. Did you forget about XYZ that I put in? Are we in the right project? Like, what are we doing right now? I literally have conversations like this, right? Like, what is happening? Because it's feeding on itself. So it's like, think of you as your only echo chamber. But if you're not in it, what is it echoing? It's just echoing itself, and it has nothing to do with anything, right? So and think about that. Then you have like all this information that now is just chaos creating. It's just noise. What's an example of this? So a handful of people came to me. It was probably like 6, 8 months ago. And so they're like, oh, Chad, this is great. I put my star chart in there, and then I put the recording that you gave me in there. I transcribed it, and it came back and said the same things. Like, no kidding, because it was just reiterating exactly what you gave it. That's fair, whatever. But then I had other people saying like, well, I'm using it. You haven't done a reading for me in a while. These are not my clients, by the way. And, I came to you 4 years ago, you did a reading for me, and so I've gotten a reading, and it's really great. And I'm like, great, oh my God. So I tested it because I'm like, I should really know. I haven't ever put anything like this, but this is a test. Literally labeled it test. Put my star chart in there. I did nothing else, and I saw what it came out with, and I was like, oh, there's some good points here. It doesn't really emphasize. It's kind of like getting an online reading. Like, it doesn't really emphasize what's really important to me. Didn't come up with any thematics, but it was proper. Like, there was nothing wrong. And then I said, let me like full test this. And so I just started talking about like, I think I just asked like, what's based on my stars and based on stars in the sky, which I didn't give it another chart because presumably it can read those. What would be good timing for me this year? And I just, I don't know. I made a few things up for launching. I do have a book coming out for book, whatever. It gave me the worst dates. So and I'm in the ugly section of this conversation because think about this. It was pretty good about my own static chart. It was pretty good. Like I'd even give it a B, right? Like I'd give it a B because it doesn't know me at all. I didn't give it any information. I just gave it my chart. Great. Okay. Nothing was wrong. There were some good points. Nothing was great though either. Okay, fair. And then I believe in it now. So now I'm asking for the timing and I have no idea. It is completely screwed up. It's done this. I don't know why. Like, because I went back and I was looking at June stars and I was feeding something in and I was just like, hey, can you just give me some posts? And I'm like, Mars is not there. What are you talking about? It has Mars in the completely wrong place. I don't know why it is. It's completely wrong. And based on that, it was looking at things like sales and whatever. And I'm like, you're completely wrong. I have no idea where you got this. So I did. I was like, you are completely wrong. Here are the dates, whatever. And I didn't even care. And it just came back, well, thanks for correcting me. That's really helpful. And I was like, yeah, I have zero confidence in your ability to be an astrologer. Zero. So I'm saying this and I'm overemphasizing this because it can be really good in one like format or for one section, and it can be really, really wrong and bad for another one, and you don't know the difference if you don't have the expertise. So that's yeah. And the other thing that I don't love is, and I keep saying it keeps blowing smoke up my dress, right? And I'm like, quit saying, "Oh my God, you're so brilliant. Oh my God, you're leaving a movement." I'm like, "Oh my God, stop talking." I will ask it, "What am I missing? What would you do if you were me? What's best practice? What question am I not asking? How can this be better? If I had all the time in the world, what would be the best scenario for this?" I'm asking it. It doesn't mean I'm going to do anything with it, but I just want to see the parameters. You can ask it for scenarios too. You can say, okay, what's the most conservative scenario? What's the most, the hot pie in the sky scenario, and what's the best scenario, right? And just to give you like a spectrum to be seeing how it's coming back with information for you. Think about this. What if somebody were to just put in somebody else's sales prompts? Because again, I see them online all the time now. These are really great prompts to use and whatever. And I'm not saying they're not. But if you don't have any information in there about yourself, you don't have any information about your voice and your brand and your own rhythm and your own cadence and how you like to do things, then it's just going to be one note. I found it to be very one note. So think about somebody just not realizing that and, oh, great, I've got all my social media or I've got all my sales funnels or I've got all my things for this, launch or this month or whatever. You're not probably going to get a lot of interaction because it feels false because you've left your own energy and your own clarity and you've left yourself out of the copy. What about somebody doing really deep soul work? I do really deep soul work. Do you think AI could ever touch that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So if I were to ask for a bunch of Instagram captions, they're not going to resonate. It has to come from me. And what about like, you have a sales page prompt from somebody who's an expert and you're like, oh my God, this is great. This is gold. I got it. But it's not for you. It doesn't have anything to do with your alignment. Your energy is completely misaligned. Here's the deal. When you outsource your voice, you're outsourcing your power. So again, AI is a support. It's like having a team member that doesn't know what the hell they're doing, but knows one very narrow band, and you have to keep babysitting it. It hasn't removed that. You definitely have to keep course correcting. So let's go in, let's look at the path forward. Let's look at how we can use this really, really well, right? Because I'm going to go into the signatures right now because these are energetic for you, right? So as I'm looking at each one, I'm going to kind of mix them up right now. I'm going to go through a creative superstar. I adore talking about marketing with a creative superstar because I know you guys. I know you like to hide, and I know that you like to just like kind of throw your offers out there and like kind of I call it throwing over the wall. That's why I like talking to you guys about this because this could be super helpful. So if you use ChatGPT as your creative director, right? Like, and again, I know how creative you are, but ask for like bold ideas, ask for visual storytelling prompts. Ask for like a compare and contrast. That would be really great. And you don't have to think up those things yourself. That's awesome, right? Because what would be even more helpful? So if you are looking at, like almost having like a behind the scenes publicist, right? So you could say like, give me your ideas. Or better yet, I'm going to give you my ideas. I'm going to give you my voice notes. I'm going to give you my rants even. And can you translate this into brand content for me? So, here's what I want to say, but can you create a carousel? Here's my essence of what I want to convey here. Can you write, I don't know, a sales page or can you write a pitch for me? Right? Can you turn this sentence into a paragraph for me so I can give it a little bit more oomph? Right? Because what chat's helping you do is translating feeling into form. And I think that's awesome, right? So what about the collaborative explorer? So collaborative explorers love to have that give and take. They love the dialogue. They love to be connected. So use chat as a conversation partner, like dialogue with it. Ask it for alternative viewpoints. Use it to kind of stimulate. Like, so if I were to be collaborating with somebody who's all into facts and figures and really wants to know the bottom line of things and is thinking more about the how and the what versus the why and the influence, then what would be a good way for me to connect with this person? That would be really good for you. Another example is to help you write emails or to help you brainstorm networking, like your bio, for example. But again, you're going to be giving it a page-long description of you and all the things, and you're going to ask for 3 sentences from it. It can help you, write a warm follow-up after a call. Or, think about, oh, I know a really good one, like emailing like a celebratory story for your clients, because that's something that you don't normally do. And so again, you're saying, this is my ideal client. I would love a celebratory story. Oh, here's what I have to celebrate. And then chat can help you round that out. What about loving alchemist? So you are about value and depth, and there's a heartfelt centeredness, yearning for belonging that you have. So that's not exactly easy to replicate, right? But if you use the words like intimate and deep and resonating and connecting, and even that word warmth or even healing, see what it comes up with for you, because that might be really, really interesting. Because for you tend to want things to be in a smaller container. You tend to want things to be deeper. And so a lot of times you'll have things that are really, really drenched with almost like information overload. So you could ask chat to lighten that up a little bit. You could ask chat for some nurturing in between those times that are a little bit, they dance a little bit more. They come to the surface a little bit more. You could ask to help you build containers that are not as energy extending for you. So for example, like you want to have a fireside or a poolside chat, right? And you're thinking about, wow, I don't really want more than 10 or 12 people there. Here are the people I'm thinking of inviting. This is all you in your head, right? Huh. How would I craft that? Should it be an hour? Should it be 2 hour? When in the day should that be? What are 2 or 3 questions that I can ask? Well, if you give the parameters to chat, it can help you construct that, give you a wireframe for that, because you'll go for that 2 hour, really drenching, really heavy, really deep. And that might not be, it might be, the conversation might just need to be lighter than that. What about you, ruling warrior? Use it for delegation. Write 3 emails, give me 5 bullet points for my bio based on this raw transcript, really polish this up. I used another example about give me those vulnerable placeholders for me. That's really good for you and really helpful, because it's interesting for you, ruling warrior. You can, and you're not going to like this, but you can come off as like someone with factory face. Okay. What does that mean? That means that, those people that have the perfectly polished, every hair is in place, their eyebrows are perfect, their lipstick is perfect, like they have the perfect outfit on, and they look a little bit like an automatron. You are way much more than that, but because you like to lead, because you like to do the bottom line, and you don't like that, not the softness, but you don't like the fuzziness. That's where you can come off as factory face. You don't want to be factory face. And then chat can make you be more factory face, and that's just bad. So you can use it for fast action plans, for some sales scripts, from competitive analysis. It would really be good for some revenue breakdowns. It would be awesome. You can use it for that 5 email sequence to convert leads into buyers, but ask it to be nurturing. Ask it to have some warmth. Give it some personal expression that you want in there, because you don't want to drive people away from you. You want to, again, no factory face for you. So how many more do I have to do? Sorry, because I did this out of order. This is when I do things out of order. It's never good because I lose my space. Okay, so I have wise strategist and I have intuitive visionary. I did this on purpose because my podcast producer said you tend to wane for the loving alchemist. So mix it up sometimes, and then I lose my space. So not awesome. No factory face here. Okay, so wise strategist, it's perfect for you for outlining, for reverse engineering, or analyzing message gaps. So, you've got things so structured, but you can, like everybody, get lost in your head and kind of get lost in the goodness of, well, I did it in 5 steps before, I did it in 10 steps before, so therefore it's going to work. And chat can tell you, be like, yeah, but you know what? You leapt from here to there way too fast, so you have a gap there. So let's fill in the gap. So that's really good. Ask it clear and specific questions. Let it help you gather data, compare models, outline step-by-step plans, verify sources. That's awesome for you. You can ask it, to give me a comparison of top 3 business models, or, for the service-based CEO, if that's your brand, or summarize the latest economic forecast and implications for pricing. That would be so good for you. That would be awesome. And guess what? None of the other signatures want that at all. So as you're telling people and you're doing messaging, remember not to be just facts and figures. Okay, lastly, but certainly not least, hello, intuitive visionaries. Here's the thing. We have so many ideas and so many downloads. We are also like, ooh, shiny object, ooh, shiny objects. So our tendency is going to want to be to use chat to give us more ideas. That's not exactly what you want to do. You want to say, based on these ideas I have, and the current offerings I do, service-based, or products that I sell, here are 4 or 5 ideas I've had. I wouldn't probably batch them like that. I'd probably say, here's 1 or 2 ideas I've had. Do these fit in? How can these elevate me? How can these drive my bottom line or my top line? How can these be super supportive for me? So if you brain dump all your wildest visions, it can actually help you frame those, but it needs context, because the only way it's going to frame those, if you don't give it any context, is just based on its own priorities. And that's going to lead you really far astray. So, I talked before about, I don't think it was in this podcast episode, it was in a different one, where I'm talking about how if we're only on like a 5-degree out of alignment, out of our trajectory, things are moving so fast that 5 degrees could become 50 degrees, become 100 degrees before we even blink. This is that for you, intuitive visionary. I have 3 ideas that are amazing for my next podcast series. Oh my goodness. What if I did something on I'm making this up, intuitive signatures, and I did their power formula, and then, I just wrote the book, and I just did, new era tools, and chat's just going to fall in love with all of that, and it's just going to spin out a bunch of stuff. So instead, here's the foundation of my next order of messaging. Here's what I'm doing for my next, 50 podcast episodes. Here's what I'm weaving with my 3 series that I've got going on. And this is my capacity to do it. And here's the timeline for it. I've had another idea about, I'm making this up, about one of a celebrity star peaks, or about how to really front face with the economy. Where can this go? This is where I think it goes. How can I weave the new era book, the celebrity star peaks, that visionary rebel conversation, what's happening in the stars, and then what would be really good for my audience to hear? And then what's my capacity to do it? That's on me, right? That's way different. I do have about 50 pages of things that got generated that I'm not using at all. They're meaningless to me. They don't matter. I've taken the cream of the crop and I've said, ooh, this fits in perfectly. I want to talk about this. I am passionate about this subject, and here's how I want to do it. And so perfect, because I'm the driver. So that's where we started, right? We started off with, you are the driver, you are the CEO, you are the person that is at the helm of your business. So chat doesn't replace you, it supports you. And I'm just going to go into my methodology, right? If you know, like, and trust yourself, it's going to be able to prop you in the right posture. It's going to be able to galvanize your thought leadership. It's going to be able to, like, inspire you to regain your inspiration, or to inspire others in ways that maybe you haven't thought of. That's that gap filling, or that message stringing, or that nurturing that I just talked about. So it starts with you. It starts with your voice. It starts with your energy. It starts with your soul. It starts with your vision. It starts with your power. Don't ever give it up, even to a black box, quote unquote, of genius, because you're smarter than it every single time, hands down. So again, you're going to want to whitelist my email, kim@kimwoods.com, because I give you beautiful tips for you. I'm really all about reminding you of who you are. So that's my brand. So as always, thank you for rating and subscribing and reviewing. Thank you for listening to the playlist that we're starting to put together. And if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and bookmark kimwoods.com/forecast. It's your Star Strategy Center. That updates automatically for latest reels, latest podcast episodes, latest things in the playlist, latest articles. It's one stop just for you. Thank you so much for being you. And until next time, happy soul tidings.
Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more ways to use the stars strategically to align with your soul purpose, reclaim your power, and increase your prosperity. Please rate and review your favorite episodes, and remember to check out my website at kimwoods.com for my latest forecasts, articles, and offerings. To find out your intuitive success signature, take my 12-question Do You Know, Like, and Trust Yourself quiz and find out how you're living your stars at yourstarmaptosuccess.com. I've so enjoyed our time together, as it's filled with the power of the stars plus strategy to clear the pathway to your success. Until next time, happy soul tidings.